Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to do a little work on the 2011 Mini Cooper. This is my daughter's car. Always really been not happy with the factory stereo. So I'm going to try to put in a touchscreen stereo. So here's the factory stereo. It's kind of a split setup because you've got some of the controls here and the settings for the stereo, and you've got a little bit of a digital readout here. And then you've got the CD player here. So there are a few different options if you're going to replace this. So one of the things we really want is Apple CarPlay. So the kit that we have, and we'll show you here in a second, actually puts the radio, a regular 7-inch double-din stereo right here, so that the stereo is here, and then it eliminates some of this stuff. The one thing I think we will lose that she'll just have to deal with are going to be the audio controls on the steering wheel. So here we have everything we need parts wise. Kids are outside playing basketball. This is the dash kit. So like you saw a second ago, this relocates the stereo to below the level of the dash. And then I've got a wiring kit. I really hope this is the right one. Looking online before you take this thing apart, if you don't know what it looks like, it's always hit or miss. So dang it, this better be the right one. And then we've got some of the directions here. Obviously, some wiring directions. So we'll be able to go color to color, color code to color code, assuming this is right. And then we've got the stereo itself. This stereo was like 70 bucks, I think. So I went with a really cheap stereo. I've never done this before, so I think I'm going to start with this bezel and then try to get this bezel off. Hopefully, this is not... This could all be one piece. Hopefully this thing does not have to come apart like crazy, but you know, here's hoping. Nope. All right, guys, this is technically the end of the video, but I want to put it a much earlier on to show you some of the things that I think I did not have to take apart that you'll see me take apart in this video. First, obviously, there's some of these, you know, once this is opened up, there's a little plastic panel here, 2 screws that hold this bezel ring on, and 2 screws over here that hold this bezel ring on. But this plastic piece, so in the directions it says to take, the directions for this molding says to take the console out. Did not have to take the console out. It says to take that air vent out. Did not have to take that air vent out. It said to take both of these off. I did take them off, but I don't think I had to. I don't think I had to at all. It says you could probably get away with not taking off the kick panel because these sides pop right off. So I think you could leave the kick panel. So this one, for this trim piece here, it says to take off the tachometer. If you pull it down, if you pull it down, you can actually twist it up, and it pops right back down into place. So pretty simple. But that comes off. And then you can see the 2 bolts on the either side of this vent, 2 on this side and 2 on top, like I'll show you in the video, that makes this thing come apart. So again, the quick down and dirty, this plastic piece here needs to come off and bring the tilt wheel all the way down, and it just folds up right out of the way. There are 2 little plastic ears right here, one here and one here. They're a pain for these 2 screws down in here. Those need to come out. This little tiny cover just pops right off with the tool. 2 screws here, 2 screws here, and then these 2 side panels pop right off. They're really simply held in place with just plastic clips. And then there's two screws here and 2 over here. And on both sides of those are both T15s, and then on the bottom there's one T25, and there's a tiny little panel that pops right off as well down there that's just held on with clips. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, I think you can get away with only doing 11 screws on this thing, and that's it. Yeah. So we'll get back to the rest of the video here in the beginning, and then you can watch me completely disassemble it, take apart pieces I didn't think I had to, and then get this back together. I jumped on a video, and this guy was taking this dash apart in like 10 minutes. He took like 4 screws out, popping all the panels off. I want to tell you that's a lie. Because he took this bezel off with 2 screws. There are 6 holding it on, and they're very difficult. So let's go step by step to this point, and then we'll hit it again in a minute. So first, this little plastic trim piece here goes across the dash. You need to get behind there, with some of these removal tools and pop that off. And then you can open up this little additional storage compartment, and then there's a screw here and a screw here, and it matches on both sides. That just takes the sides of this bezel off. Then on top, there's these little weird inserts in this vent. And this vent, so this last louver on this vent is fake, and there's a screw in there. It's hard to get to, but you can feel your way around in there and eventually find it. But you can see it if you put a light here or if you get outside and you look through the windshield, you can see it. So that's where these 2 screws are, right here, and then this thing lifts out and comes off. So this is 6 screws with these 2 difficult ones, and also these little louvers, which I think are also going to be a pain to put back in. But again, I used these guys here, all these little plastic removal tools. I just used a couple of them, and then all the screws. And one tip here, these magnetic trays are great. So now I'm putting them all these screws so far have been the same size. They're a T20 screw that comes out. All right, so once these 2 plastic pieces are out and you've taken the 6 screws out, this bezel will pop up out of the way. Then these 2 little plastic trim pieces need to come out. There are 2 screws under here. When you open the dashboard, you can find 2 screws here, and then there's a screw on top. So this one should be ready to come off here for me. Actually, no, there's another plastic piece that covers this, and then this plastic piece over here. Let's see if I can pop it off. Trim piece, yep, and then there's another screw right there. So I'll have to pop that screw out, and I just put them in here. So there's a couple little plastic covers that go right here that cover this screw up and that screw up, and this should come out. So let me get this. Here's our 220. Let's see if I can pull it off. Oh, this ratcheting, this snap-on or blue point, it's ratcheting is awesome. And then the other trick is to have a magnet. Get your magnet here so you can pull these, not lose some of these screws because they're about hard to get to. All right, so now this guy should pop right off of here. All right, sorry, so there are 3 screws under here. I told you about taking these panels off, the 6 screws on here, 3 screws underneath for the kick panel, 4 screws on this one, 5 screws over here. Now there's 2 screws on each. There's a couple of really thin kick panels down here. Really just get one of the removal tools behind that kick panel. It pops out. It's pretty simple. And then there's 2 screws on each side. So now I'm struggling to get this out. But all you need to do is get your tool in behind here, and then pop this whole thing pops out. And then if we can see, there's a little just a post here, a plastic detent, not a detent, but a post here that goes into a hole into this. And then these, I'm sure there's something holding on down here, but I don't know if I need to take that off. These just pull right out. This one just falls right down. And now you've got access to the rest of the stereo. And then I think there's some screws down here that I got to take out. And then I'll be another step or 2 ahead. And then I can pull these out, pull it out. All right. So next step, here's a little cover that was down here underneath the console. That again, you just use a removal tool, pops right out. I don't know if this is reusable or not, but again, I'm just gonna put it up here in the storage compartment. And then I did take a couple extra bolts out that I didn't need to, but that's okay. So this bolt here might be hard to see. Did not need to come out. This frame kind of stays in. It looks like it needs to come out, but it doesn't. And this one up here I took out also does not need to come out. So 2 on each side. Whatever, those go back in just a few seconds. Again, all the bolts were T20, but there are T20 except for one large bolt, or I'm sorry, Torx, panhead Torx bolt. Almost every single bolt is a panhead Torx bolt, T20. All the same size, all identical. Down here at the bottom, there's one T30 panhead bolt. So just one. And then there are 2 silver, so there's a slightly different color, slightly different look to them. Hopefully that's not too bright. Not quite the same panhead. There's 2 on either side of the CD deck, and there's 1 on the top. So the whole carriage was coming out for these other bolts that, as I was pulling. But then I noticed there was one more. Looked on the top. There's one more bolt up here at the top, one more screw. Once you pull that screw out, this whole thing is loose and it's coming free. So I'll pull it free. We'll check the wiring, kind of pull some of this off so we can get it in and together. And hopefully we can put the radio in and go the other way. I went ahead and I built up the wiring harness for the radio. It was right, looks good. So we're all set, ready to run the radio. So next, I have a few steps to do. This is the old dash components, console. I'm going to take out the heater controls and I'm going to switch them over to the new setup. And then this kit also includes a blank for the radio controls. So I got to take off the stereo component here. It'll slide it out and I'll put the blank components in and then we'll get ready to put it back in the car. Got some, obviously the holes there, so I guess this fills it up, huh? Got the old stereo head unit off, so as you can see it's got the readout and the buttons here. So now there's a blank where that used to live. I think I can put this speedometer back in and then the old unit that I put down on the floor there. Again, all of these bolts are T20, so everything's a T20, and this is a direct fit. So these came right out and went right back in. There are some components here that I'm not quite sure. I'm not 100% how I need to use these. If I need to use these, I may have to figure something out to make sure the radio fits in there nicely. That went back in pretty easily. There's the one silver bolt on the top, and then 2 bolts, 1 on each side on the bottom. I had already taken 2 of these bolts out for the carrier in the back, so I put those back in as well. So it's in there nice and firm. All right, let me tell you, this was a trip. We got it in. The fitment around the outside is not perfect at all because this radio was too big. This head unit was too big for this, so it had to be cut back in multiple places. to get some of the tabs and some of the edges here put back in. So I think, I mean, this is my daughter, so if she doesn't like it, then she can pay for it herself, right? Something like that. But probably some black caulk, or there's some stuff I could put in there. You would never see that. And then, so what this kit has are these little brackets here that go on the side, and then some different style brackets. So if you do a single DIN stereo, you can put this in there and have a little tray. But those brackets didn't work. I had to use the brackets that came with the radio, and I had to cut them down. You can see here I had to cut them down. They came out a little farther so it would actually fit. All right, so I don't exactly know where I left off, but it has been 2 days. You probably don't know. Obviously, you can't tell, but here it is. See if I can get it darkened here. Apple CarPlay seems to be doing pretty good. Working decently fine on this. Really just plugging in the cable. I haven't tried to connect it to Bluetooth because, again, it's going to be my daughter's. Let me turn off the blinky. So yeah, the big thing is I spent some time trying to diagnose this. I bought the cheap plug that says it works for, you know, BMWs and Mini Coopers, and it absolutely plugs into the plug. However, it just doesn't run anything or everything. There wasn't even a accessory wire that this powered that gave me power to the stereo. So I was able to jump it and turn it on, but I wasn't able to actually get it to work. So I went back online on Amazon, and they do have this data interface. It's an Access AXRC BW1. Just went wire for wire. The only thing I didn't follow was it does say to connect the orange wire. There's a jumper lead, and it says it run all the way to the battery. It's fused. This is a pretty cheap radio. If it damages the radio, I'll get a different one, because this one, you know, the interface looks really cheap because it was really cheap. This was like a $60 radio. But yeah, I'll put this back together. The reverse of how I took it apart. I think you guys saw that. Really, this bezel goes in first, and then this adjusted piece. And again, I don't like how I had to cut these sides here to make this aftermarket radio fit. So I get a different radio. I'm probably going to have to buy this trim kit again. But yeah, then again, this one has 2 bolts on each side, and then 2 screws on each side, and a couple of screws each for these, and some screws here on the side, and then the screws on the bottom. So I'll put this back together. But yeah, it wasn't too bad of a job. Probably about an hour and a half. I say 30 minutes to take it apart. It's probably going to take me 20 minutes to put it back together, maybe 15 minutes. I probably spent 30 minutes, you know, trimming this here. So if you get a radio that fits, you're going to spend a little less time than I did. So that one shouldn't be too big of a deal. And then you know, just cutting it and splicing in, you know, splicing these wires in to get the dinger and everything. Not too big of a deal. So yeah, thanks for sticking around this long. If there's any questions, just leave them in the comments. I can answer anything we did, but it's pretty cut and dry. Seems to be pretty simple. We seem to still have the functionality of the speedometer, and that's one thing I was worried about on the old display. It had, you know, through the radio, it gave you the miles per gallon and speedometer. I'm sorry, not speedometer, but the fuel economy, speedometer, all that kind of comes through here as well. This is a little speedo, and then those items are here. You can switch it back and forth. Seems to have retained that. That was one thing I was worried about, but that's good to go. This radio should be perfect for her. I'll put it all back together, and we'll see you guys in the next one.